Hi, I'm Danielle Premo. This is Premo Cooks. Welcome back. Today we are going to be showing you how to make a soup to boost your immune system given the current climate of things globally. And this is not a traditional miso soup by any means. It has miso in it, but it also has a lot of veggies. It's very hearty and it serves great as an entree. So the first thing we're going to do is start by chopping up all of our veggies. 2 carrots, dice them. 3 celery stalks, dice those too. 1-inch ginger, grate it. 10 cremini mushrooms, destem them, then slice them. 2 gold potatoes, cube them up. 1 yellow onion, dice it. Mince up 6 cloves of garlic. Juice 1 whole lemon. Let's get a few lemon wedges for serving. And last but not least, we're going to cut 3 green onions on the bias. And these you can plant in your garden. Alrighty then. We have chopped all of our vegetables and now we are going to start sauteing the onions. I have 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in this guy. And once it's melted, I'm going to add the onions. I'll just moisturize while I'm waiting. Okay, my coconut oil is mostly melted. So I'm going to take these diced onions, pop them in there. Heard a nice sizzle, which is always what you want when you're adding stuff to a pan. And now I'm going to sprinkle these onions with 2 teaspoons of salt. Give it a stir, turn the heat down to medium. So now we're going to let these cook for about 5 minutes, giving them an occasional stir until they're soft. So, what should we do for 5 minutes? Onions are in the allium family, along with garlic and leeks. They're very pungent. I like to put them in everything. I don't really know what I have to say about onions.
Okay.
You're handsome. All right, these onions have cooked down. They're much softer and sweeter now. I'm going to add carrots and celery, along with one of my favorite ingredients in the kitchen, tamari, which is a gluten-free soy sauce, Japanese. I will talk about it at the end of the video in my afterthoughts. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon. Give it a stir. And then we'll let this simmer for another couple of minutes before mixing in the rest of our soup ingredients. Smells yum. Now I'm going to add in our final ingredients, which are the potatoes, the ginger and garlic. Going to give this a stir and then add in the soup stock and a piece of kombu seaweed, which I will also talk about in the afterthoughts. I'm going to go with about a 1-inch piece of kombu soup stock, homemade. That was about 4 cups, and I'm going to add a couple of more cups. I had some set aside. So this will be about 6 cups of soup stock total. Oh, what? Now what we want to do is we're going to turn the heat on high, bring this to a boil, and then reduce it to a simmer for 20 to 25 minutes until our potatoes are cooked through, and then we'll do our finishing touches and serve us up some miso soup to boost our immune systems. Yay! All right, our soup is at a simmer. The potatoes are very close to done. So the next step is we want to saute the mushrooms and brown them with some flavor. So I already melted the coconut oil. Now I'm going to add my mushrooms. I have it on a medium heat. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of my favorite ingredient, tamari. Give this a stir. And what we want to do is cook the mushrooms until they're browned and soft, which is going to take about 5 minutes. Since they've absorbed all the coconut oil and tamari, I'm going to add a tablespoon of mirin, my other favorite ingredient. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the heat down. These are perfectly cooked, and they're gonna continue to cook a little bit once I add them into this hot soup, so I don't wanna overdo it. And because there's all these delicious juices in there with the tamari and mirin and the mushroom liquid that's cooked off, I'm just gonna dump this entire pan into my soup pot. And then I'm gonna turn the heat off because my potatoes are cooked through. And this kombu that we started off with was a 1-inch strip. Now it's been cooked and it's expanded, and I'm gonna take this out. You can eat it if you want. It has wonderful nutrient content I'll talk about after this video.
I'm okay.
And the final ingredients for this soup are the lemon juice from the lemon that we squeezed earlier.
Why are you adding that in last?
Because it's a finishing acid, so it brightens everything up. But if I put it in too soon, that flavor is gonna cook off. Citrus is always good at the end, just like fresh herbs. Okay, so now we have this soup that's ready to go, except for our one most important ingredient is the miso, because this is a miso soup. But the reason that we're adding it at the very end is because miso is a fermented food. It's a live culture. It has probiotics. It's essentially a bacteria. It's really good for your gut health. So if we were to put this into our soup while it was boiling and let it keep simmering away, it would kill the bacteria, which is what promotes good gut health and does a lot for your immune system. So the proper way to add miso into your soup is to take a ladle full of your soup broth. And actually, in this case, I have 4 tablespoons of miso paste in here. You might need a little more than that. We're gonna take some of this liquid and then we're gonna whisk it into what they call a slurry. If you were to add miso directly into your soup pot as well, just by the tablespoon, because of its nature, it's gonna clump up. It's not gonna evenly disperse, which is another reason why you need to whisk it. Come on. I'm gonna switch to a fork to get these final clumps that are in here. Yeah, so I'm pouring it out slowly with my fork whisking along the way, just to make sure I have all of the clumps blended in. And even if at the end I have a few little tiny pieces of miso, that's fine. They'll just be a little burst of flavor in your mouth. A little burst of flavor in your mouth. Okay, so now I'm gonna give this a stir. Smells really good. Very, very good. Sorry, this will bother me. Let's get. Okay, the soup is complete. Now I want to taste it just to make sure the flavors are on point. That is so good. Now, the last thing, when you serve it, which I will plate right now, we're gonna top it with green onions, give it a pop of color and a little extra flavor. You could also top it really with any herb of your choice. Parsley would be nice. Chives are great. I really like chives on here. Green onions are a staple of mine though, so I always have those on hand. So these are our green onions that we chopped up earlier. I chopped them on the bias too, just for a little extra visual content, visual, what's the word?
It looks classy.
It looks classy. I cut it on the bias so that it looked real classy. And then what I'm also going to do is just serve it with a little lemon wedge on the side, partly for looks, but also the citrus brightens the flavor. I'll actually just squeeze it on there because I know that I'll want a little bit more when I eat this. And now we have a beautiful immune boosting miso soup to get you through these trying times. Ba-bam.
How did it go?
Oh, it went great. This was the best time ever. Now that we have our miso soup made, maybe you've eaten some and you're loving how tasty it is and how immune boosting it feels. But a lot of folks ask, why is this recipe immune boosting? And there's a lot of contributing factors. Miso is a big one. Mushrooms are another. They both have a lot of B vitamins and they are very nutrient dense. And then we also have garlic and ginger, which have a lot of antioxidants, as do miso and mushrooms. And then there's the kombu in there, which lends a lot of minerals to this soup. So there's a lot of factors in why this soup is immune boosting, and all of those things I chose for a reason. And that is that. Another question folks ask is, so what about reheating your miso soup? Do you want to do that? No, not if you want the benefits of the miso. So what you can do is, as opposed to making a slurry and adding that 4 tablespoons of miso to the entire soup pot, what you can do is just take a little less than a tablespoon per bowl, make a slurry, and then ladle soup into that bowl and serve it individually. So if you want to store some of your miso soup in the fridge without the miso in it, then you can, when you reheat it, add the miso in at the end. Another question folks ask a lot is, can you substitute misos? Could you use any color? Technically, yes, you could. I don't necessarily recommend red miso for this one or the darker brown misos, but white or yellow are great. They're lighter, they're sweeter. The darker you get in color, so from white, yellow, brown, red, they get saltier and a lot more rich in flavor. Plus the red one turns everything red. So I usually stick with white or yellow for this particular recipe. Another question for folks that have allergens is, since miso is a soy product, it's a fermented soybean, what do you do if you want to substitute the miso for something else? And the great news about that is currently now there are, I think, at least 1 or 2 different brands that are selling misos made from chickpeas or garbanzo beans, so that you can avoid the soy altogether. So look out for those at your local health food stores. So I talked a lot about tamari in the video, or at least reference. It's one of my favorite items to use in the kitchen. It is a soy sauce, and it's a Japanese soy sauce specifically. So soy sauce originated in China, and tamari originated in Japan. And the differences between them are a couple. One, it's really hard to find a soy sauce where they don't add wheat or gluten to it in the fermenting process. So if you're a gluten-free person, soy sauce is usually not an option. You have to go out of your way to find a soy sauce that's gluten-free. Tamari, most of them are gluten-free. They're labeled that way. And the other benefit of tamari that I love the most is it's not nearly as salty as soy sauce. Where soy sauce, if you add a tablespoon of something to a dish, it's going to overwhelm it. Tamari is much more forgiving because it has a less salty flavor. Next. Kombu was another thing that I put into this recipe to boost the nutrient value of the dish. It is a seaweed, kelp seaweed specifically, and it is incredibly mineral dense and has a lot of nutrient value. So it adds this wonderful boost of nutrition to any dish that you add it to, but it doesn't add a whole lot of flavor. You can't taste it. So it's a great thing to add to your soups, your stews. You can remove it at the end. You don't have to eat it, but all of that stuff will come out in the cooking process. Something else I wanted to share with y'all is, while I was making this in the video, I grated the ginger and I didn't take the peel off of it, which definitely most folks do, and they always comment on the fact that I leave the skin on. So taking the skin off is generally only necessary if you have ginger that's not organic. If you're grating it and you're making it very fine, the skin is not going to change the texture at all. And as with a lot of root vegetables, a lot of the nutrition is in the skin. So it's better to leave it on, and if you can get organic ginger, great. And if not, then you might want to take the skin off, but it's a huge time saver to leave the skin on, and it's really, you're not going to notice a difference, I promise. And one last thing to comment on is the mirin, because it's one of my favorite ingredients of all time, that and tamari. Mirin's also a Japanese product. I've mentioned it in another cooking video before, but I will probably mention it many times in the future of these cooking shows because I use it as my secret weapon. It's a fermented rice cooking wine. It's slightly acidic, slightly salty, a little bit sweet, and it's a great finisher to soups, salads, stews. I love sauteing any vegetable with a little bit of tamari and mirin, and so freaking good. So I love mirin, and I think that you should have it on hand at your house too. Eden is my favorite brand. I've said that before, I'll say it again. They do it the way that the Japanese ferment it traditionally, and it doesn't have any extra additives, and it is a power weapon, a secret weapon, a wonderful weapon. It's my weapon. I love it. I love mirin. It's my favorite. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy Premo Cooks and think I'm a total dork, then hit those buttons down below, the like and the subscribe, and share us with your friends. Thanks. Do you want to be famous?